Joyous time zones, folks. I'm Sako Tumi, and I'm a self-employed graphic designer and illustrator. I'm going to walk you through a couple of branding projects that I've done and a couple other things, but I hope you are inspired by what I show you. Let's start. So I'm going to take you on a little bit of a journey, and this is the itinerary. I'll talk a little bit about who I am, what my mission statement is, my education, my work experience, some of it anyway, and then a little project portfolio, and then a notable project, and lastly a contact so that you can keep in touch, and you can hunt down all of my doings, because this is just brushing the tip of the iceberg. Based out of the Washington, D.C. area, I am a graphic designer, illustrator, and photographer. I hate to admit it, but as a designer, I am addicted to Adobe, so I'm going to recommend that design package subscription for professional work. Sure, there are other options if you are boycotting Adobe, like Atticus. Do a little homework on the options and figure out what's best for you. I am also a self-published horror author. That's okay. Of course, I felt the need to make my own covers and identity and stuff. These are serialized fiction or ream stories that I am working on, and here are 3 published novels that I have out. Check out Cass Voit on Amazon. I offer formatting and proofreading for self-publishing authors. This is more lucrative than I had expected. Sako Studios caters to the dark and macabre with finesse and can be the cure for bad design. I was class of 2000, so a lot was expected of us. In January 2003, I decided to go to college so that I'd never have to work retail ever again. Little did I know those people skills would remain relevant still even now. I graduated from the Art Institute of Washington in Roslyn, VA in December of 2006. As you know, art is subjective, and I spent a year on portfolio and was shot down every review from a particular teacher. I had to go to the most technically sound teacher as my mentor to actually graduate. Since then, we've gone through a recession, and I unfortunately became homeless, but I refused to work outside of my industry. I continued working for marketing studios and government contracts despite my situation. I stopped living in my car in 2013 when my then fiance moved in, and my dad gave us rent of the house in his absence. In fact, my husband recently called me out for keeping my camping gear packed in my car. I offer a range of artistic skills to my clients, so they get content built from the ground up. You'll notice the illustration that I've featured here. This is a card from the Light Eater's Tarot, which will get a prettier version next year. I mostly use my photography skills to shoot themes for fun. This was part of the Witches of America theme done over a handful of years. I often present design and marketing lectures and workshops specifically for authors. Over here on the left is a logo for a creative studio based out of South Africa called Moon Bunny Creative. 2 of these projects are meant to keep my skills sharp, while one I'm being paid for and still in progress, so I ran a DC by Night Vampire the Masquerade game for many years, and as flavor to the game, I created a vampire-themed bar with a menu that catered to blood type. There were menu items that were ideal for certain blood types for the healthiest outcome. I've seen kitchen nightmares enough to know that you should keep the menu simple. The Be Merry section featured plates for larger parties. Members of these parties could choose between fish, red meat, and bird meat. Obligatory business card and an envelope with a little bit of a chef mood. VIP packages were offered, where for a fee, the patron would receive a consent badge for vampires that were hunting. This project was a blast to work with. I am a metalhead that has been to various resorts in different cities. Yes, I will be at Prague Power and some East Coast Powerwolf shows. The name came from a movie by Dee Snider in the 90s. You're all adults. I'm sure that you can hunt it down and watch it and see the correlations. This shows my process a little bit, as the snake was not my first doodle, but the simpler two-headed snake read the best at different sizes, and while this may not be relevant anymore, I made black and white versions as well. I'll note that I do all of my concept work in Procreate on my iPad Pro. Folder, letterhead, business cards, and envelopes. I saw a thing recently that showed how many Gen Z students couldn't get an envelope through the mail. They had all failed. So maybe I should stop designing envelopes. Metalheads curse like sailors. I wanted something that would grab attention to self-care, as many metalheads, as you can guess, often forego self-care in lieu of actually bathing or brushing their teeth and whatnot. This was designed to treat a patron like a rock star in Europe as opposed to the US. This is currently a running project. I was commissioned to draw an entire major arcana for a video game programmer in Mexico. I haven't made a plate at the bottom yet, but you get a good idea of both his styles and my own. I mentioned the Light Eater's Tarot before. In 2020, I released a tarot deck called the Light Eater's Tarot. It was 30 years in the making, and it wasn't until recently that I took the time to draw all 78 cards. A second edition version is in the works and will be available next. It is an autobiographical deck, and I originally was going to have one made for just for myself. It is an autobiographical deck, and I originally was going to have one made for myself, but went to my audience to gauge interest, and the response was overwhelming. I'm also working on a graphic novel with simple art and no dialogue called The Three Sillies, based on the English fairy tale. The goal is to transcend the language barrier, and anyone can read it. I should be wrapping this up in the coming weeks, and it will be released next year. This was the project that I created in 2020 when I decided to get into TV and video games. In order to work in that arena, you need to do the portfolio thing first, and then make it visible so that gigs can find you. I'll note that I get my gigs through social media. In 2008, I decided to go into business for myself. God bless Obama-era benefits. And when I joined Facebook, I filled it only with people I had had a 10-minute conversation with. 1,500 friends later, I get about 300 responses to life changes. If 1% of that buy my wares, then I'm doing good. What I'm about to show you is called a pitch deck. These are like media kits for specific projects they are literally trying to pitch. This may evolve in the future, as I just recently got into basic animation practices, so this game opener video might still happen. First thing producers and the like to see is the process. That's what much of this pitch deck will show. Let's start with mood. What is the place like? What are the people like? Isolde here got her design origins from Pinterest influences. What sort of group would your character fit into? This is where you keep sketches and notes. Start with the silhouette and make variations based on those silhouettes. Don't always go for the first sketch. You may notice that I went with close to the last sketch, and the color scheme was the very last choice I'd given myself. Once I nailed down the design, I made feature art. Of course, the poses and expressions are not only great to show the client, but they get you used to drawing the character consistently. There are all kinds of challenges where you draw 8 to 25 expressions of one character, which teaches you said consistency. Isolde had acquired the cookbook of the arcane, which she carried everywhere. The same process was applied to the book. When you put together a pitch deck or a media kit, thank the viewer for looking and offer contact or website and suchery. Pleased to be looking me up on the Googles as either Sako Tumi or Sako Studios. You'll find my social media as well as my website, which showcases all my skills, not just the ones I showcased today. Thanks again for having me, and I'll be open for questions and comments.